We are going to be covering subqueries this week. Subqueries is one of the, probably is the most difficult topic that we cover in this course. And the more you work with subqueries, uh, the more you will understand them. So at first, maybe a little fuzzy, and hopefully over time, as you work with them more, they will begin to make more sense. But basically, a subquery is a full query that is inside another query. So you definitely want to read the book and then go through the lecture demo. The lecture demo does have several examples. Hopefully, the examples will help you understand subqueries better. And there's only certain clauses that allow you to create subqueries in them. So obviously you can do it in the select and the where. Those are probably the most common places that you are going to see subqueries. The from clause and having can also include subqueries. So I tried to give you guys examples that I thought would make sense. So this first example, if we're looking at all of the products, it does make sense to display the product name and then to total up all of the units that were ordered, from that product. And so to do that, what I've done here is created an entire query inside the select. So if you see an entire select inside another one, that is a subquery. And you can see that all this subquery is doing is it's totaling up the quantity from our order detail table. And to make sure that we are totaling up the correct product, we are making sure that the order detail product ID is equal to the product table product ID. So you'll notice that this outer select is using the product table. So it's the ID from the outer select that we are setting equal to the ID that is in our subquery. That's how we know that we are totaling up the proper quantity. The other place that subqueries are common is in the where clause. And in a where clause, you will see things like the in qualifier, the any qualifier, uh, because you've got a subquery here that may be returning more than one thing. And so you want to select the row if this vendor is in this, the results from this query. Okay, so here we're just displaying some invoice information from invoices for vendors that basically are in this subquery. So basically it's a vendors from California that we're looking for. As I said, in the where clause, you typically use the in qualifier, the all keyword, the any, or the some. Those are very common in a where clause that has a subquery. So you can see the subquery is right here, the entire thing. And then we've got our outer query. So basically a subquery is a nested query if you want to look at it that way. As you go through here, you will be learning more about subqueries. And then once we're done with subqueries, you get into common table expressions, which are basically temporary tables that you create, and then you select data from them. I think the non-recursive is pretty straightforward. Recursive CTEs are CTEs that call themselves. So I think the recursive CTEs are a little bit harder to understand. So Basically, what I did was I kind of walked you through an example, like the process that you would go through in creating a recursive CTE, starting with two separate selects, and then getting into a union, and then finally creating the CTEs. Once you finish that, you're going to go into the textbook assignment. And you'll notice I have videos here. And so the textbook assignment walks you through how to create a variety of subqueries. So you'll kind of go through here, create these subqueries, and then you're going to be creating your own subqueries. So the lab assignment you may find somewhat difficult, but I want to emphasize here that this lab assignment is not all subqueries. The first task doesn't have any subqueries. Okay, we're treating it as more of a review. So this first task has you installing some database files, creating some select queries with joins, and you're going to use aggregate functions. Okay, so this is a nice little review for you. And then task 2, we still are not doing subqueries yet. Okay, so task 2, you are going to modify the table structure. So this is a review of what we did the last couple weeks, and this does not require subqueries either. And then we get to task 3. Task 3 is the only one that requires subqueries. And the subqueries that you're going to be using are subqueries in the where and subqueries in the select, the two places that you are most likely to encounter subqueries. So you'll kind of go through here, create the subquery. Your output should look similar. Okay, so there's 3 of them that you're going to be creating. And then finally, you get down and you are going to be creating a CTE. Okay, and you do not need to do a recursive CTE, so this is just the normal one. Okay, so that is the lab assignment. If you run into any problems with the lab assignment, if you're confused or it's just not giving you the output that you want, copy the query and email it to me. That way I can run it and I can help you figure out what the problem is. We do have another unit test. This is on chapters 5, 6, and 7. I am going to change the due date and give you an extra week on that. So it'll actually be due on the 22nd. And then I did create an extra credit for the last quiz. So this will just give you some additional practice on things that you need to know for the MTA certification exam. So let me know if you have any problems at all, and I hope all of you have a great week.